Hey friends, it's Jeff. We're going to interview some of the most intriguing people in the Enneagram world. There are already 20 plus interviews up at aroundthecircle.org, and we're continuing to add more. That site is where we're gathering and platforming all of our best work. Much of it is available for free. Katie Whitlock and I have been doing deep studies working through wings, stance, fear, anger, and shame in our Rewired series. I'm beginning to release chapters from my next Enneagram book, which I'm calling The Steps, for early review for your consideration. And we have monthly online workshops in which 30 or so folks gather to talk about their type. There's audiobooks, there's videos, there's lots of fun stuff, lots to like. Go to aroundthecircle.org, and may all good things be yours. All right. This is Around the Circle. I'm Jeff Cook. I'm speaking with Milton Stewart this morning. Milton has an MBA from Widen University. He is the host of the podcast, Do It for the Gram. He's a 7, and he's our guest today. Milton, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate you inviting me on the show.
You also serve as president of the International Enneagram Association, which I assume is the largest Enneagram organization in the world. Is that right?
Yes, that I know of. Yeah,
I haven't heard of any others. You know, they're competing, so yeah, let's claim it. And you've done that for a little bit. This isn't new, correct?
Yeah, so I've been a part of the board for probably about 4 years now, the global board, and I've served in many different positions, from conference chair to vice president to secretary, and now I am officially the president of the IEA.
Dang. What are the things that you are most proud of? Like, what are you all doing that really is noteworthy in your mind?
I think the two biggest things, because we do quite a bit, but the two biggest things is that we have a way to honor the Enneagram and like make sure it has integrity with the teachers who are accredited through us. And so it's making sure that when someone teaches the Enneagram, that they don't abuse it. Because as we both know, and many people know, the Enneagram, it is great for development, growth, transformation. And it can also be used in a harmful manner if you're not careful, or in a way that stagnates people or doesn't help them. And so we're out there to make sure that our teachers, our professionals, however they use the Enneagram, that they're one of the people that's vetted. So when people come to look for Enneagram professionals to work with, they're like, oh, these people at least been vetted, have some experience. And the other thing I think is one of the most beautiful parts of the IEA is our community. Man, there is like anyone who's listening who's never been to an IEA conference, I am going to invite you to come to an Enneagram conference. It is one of the most inclusive, fun, enjoyable, like mentally stimulating, emotionally connecting, body grounding experiences you can have. There are so many people from around the world that show up, and it's fascinating because it's around this beautiful tool we all love and like called the Enneagram. And it is just amazing the energy you feel and the connections you make. You make connections that will last you a lifetime. And I have quite a few. So I invite anyone who has not been to one of the conferences, please come. And anyone looking to be an accredited professional, or just come to our events. We have different events from people around the world using the Enneagram in amazing ways. Like, man, when I tell you some unique ways, things I've never thought of, I'm like, oh, that's a good way to use the Enneagram. Great job, So, yeah.
It's excellent. The annual conference is during the summer, correct?
Yeah, so we've switched. So now IEA Global, which is it's like the big umbrella of all IEA organizations around the world. We have one every 2 years, and that's usually in the summer. And then we have our IEA affiliates who have their conferences between those years. The IEA Global has theirs. So for instance, this year we have Egypt, we have China, which will be in Nanjing, and we also have one in Argentina. So, and then next year will be the global one, which is everyone. So yeah, it's a pretty cool organization.
That's stellar. Where's the global event taking place next year?
So one thing I can say, I literally just talked to our affiliates probably this last Saturday about it, because for the global community, the IEA the organization was founded in the US, but we are an international organization. And our global conference, not our regional conference, but our global conference has been in the US primarily since we started about 30 years ago, whenever we had one. And so the international community is like, hey, there's more locations outside of the US. Are you ready? And we are at a point, I would say in maturity and history, where now we're most likely going to take the step outside of the US for this international conference. So that's exciting. I can't say exactly where it's at because we haven't signed the contract for the place, so I want to put information out there. But if you are interested, everybody listening, check out our website, internationalenneagram.org. Follow me, and we will make sure you get that information because we want you there.
That's wonderful. Well, that's the big picture. Bringing it closer to home, you are into the Enneagram. How'd you come to the Enneagram? What's your Enneagram story?
Yeah. So the Enneagram found me when I was stuffing my face full of food. Yes. So I was stuffing my face full of food with some friends, and we were at a devotional where we was with different people, and one of our leaders came out. He was like, "Hey, y'all want to do this personality test?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love these things. Throw me the book. What are we doing?" So we had the Wisdom of the Enneagram, the Russ, in Don Rizzo book, and we did the 2-question test. I got both of my answers correct. My letter and my letters correct. So they start reading the first 2 paragraphs. And I'm like, yeah, that's all the good stuff about us, right? It's like, oh, yes, say more. Tell everyone just how wonderful my personality is. And then the next 2 paragraphs, all the things that are like not really good about you, your patterns, and things that you wondering, like, how in the world does this book know this about me? And so that's when I was like, oh, I don't know how true this is anymore. I don't know. I don't know. But inside, I was like, oh my gosh, who's watching me and how in the world do they know? And so as a 7, that hooked me because, usually I can maneuver my way out of stuff. But when I saw that, it really pinned me down around things I patternally do, like my patterns. I have to learn more. And so that's when I went searching. And at that time, I think there was one podcast out about the Enneagram, just one. And I started listening to that. I started to buy every book I could find on the Enneagram, which was, it was the earlier literature, but it was good stuff. And I just kept reading. And then I got excited and I went around mistyping everybody I knew because I was so excited. And I was like, you're probably this based on your behavior. And that's totally the wrong way to do it. When I finally got a little bit of grasp on it because it was helping me grow and it was helping my friends grow and heal and different things, I introduced it to where I was working at the time, a school. I was working at an elementary school as an administrator. Make sure we get funded. And it was a charter school and it was one of the lowest resource neighborhoods in the state of Tennessee, honestly. So when you talk about understanding the Enneagram and being able to help the teachers, the staff, the students, and their families, I really saw it take shape and I really saw type structures come out like very obvious. It's like, oh, like it's here. So it was one of the best places to learn for me, the Enneagram and truly how to work with it in myself and with other people and how to share it and teach it. So from there, got super interested in it. Obviously, I just kept going and I ended up training under my first teacher, was Ginger Lapid-Bogda, who's my mentor to this day and someone who's been great for my learning and my understanding of gaining wisdom and everything. So it's been such a great experience learning under her. And then from there, I just kind of branched out and learned from many other teachers who I could name and honor all of them because it's so many. But they're wonderful. They're absolutely amazing. And through that, I've just grown a lot. I've experienced a lot. I built my own business on the Enneagram. And now I work in organizations, corporations, and with individuals to help change and transform them. And it's based on everything I do now, which I love. So, yeah.
Excellent. Are you still in Tennessee?
Yeah, still in the Tennessee area.
Do you still do? You talked about doing stuff with businesses and corporations. Do you continue to do anything with education at all with Enneagram, or have you mostly moved into corporate world?
It's mostly corporate. Um, every once in a while, there's like I do work with a group called Bridge Builders in Memphis. Shout out to Bridge Builders. It's amazing when you're able to go back to a place that helped you develop and then help them to continuously grow and develop. So Bridge Builders, USA in Memphis, they help youth um, really understand how to advocate for themselves, how to understand themselves, how to work with other people in diverse environments. And they do such a wonderful job. And so they've invited me in to work with their staff and then work with some of their youth because they have amazing youth programming. Like they do things that are like pretty profound, like policy making, going and talking to the legislators, all kinds of amazing things, supporting
Yeah.
youth, in detention centers. Like they do a wide range of things. And for me to be able to give back to them, because they've given so much to me when I was like in that rebel seven mode at the time, um,
Right.
I'm very grateful, very very grateful.
That's lovely. Well, one of the big things that was on my mind in coming to our conversation was I imagine you're going to have a fantastic vantage point for talking about where the Enneagram is. For me, when I think about Enneagram world and a lot of the books and resources that are out there, it feels like I have this picture that probably most of the description in my mind and heart were nearly the same place we were in 2018 or, you know, but I imagine that's not the case. So when you think about where the Enneagram's at, where you've seen some development, where you've seen like, oh, this is fresh and new and really worth pointing at as having some energy. What are some of the things that come to your mind first?
So I would say the one of the first thing that comes to mind is that there are quite a few people around the world working on how do we do scientific studies of Enneagram as best as possible because they want to take it into academic institutions or scientific areas. And, it can be difficult to get in those areas if you don't have like scientific studies and double blind, so, these different things to get in. And so there's actually been quite a few people who have started to do different forms of like studies to give it credibility in those arenas, right? And so there's a group out of Australia. There's Dan Siegel and the PTP group, and they just released the book and everything. And so there's different areas. I see that as one of the areas where the Enneagram is it's growing and going because we know the impact of it, but we also have to get through the gate that may protect or keeps people or tools out of the organization. So how do we get past that? So I do see some of that happening more and more and impacting where the Enneagram is going. The next place I see the Enneagram going is there was like, I think I saw one of your podcasts before, and you kind of mentioned a little bit about this. There was this buzziness of it. It got really hot, like really, really hot on social media. The algorithms were picking it up. Like you had social influencers popping up, and it was like, ooh, ooh, Enneagram this, and this. And then like it's like, so like the trend went kind of down in the sense of the buzziness of it. Now the integrity and the use of it of people who are using it in beautiful ways didn't go away at all. It only may have picked up. It's just not buzzy, trendy, and loud anymore on social media because social media picked up the next thing, and that's fine. And so I think that trend has gone down, but it has increased the ability for people to enter the space. And I think this is what I think it helped with. It allowed people who usually didn't have access to understand and know what the Enneagram was. It gave them access and opportunity to it. Because beforehand, there's not a lot of people who have diverse backgrounds or who don't have a certain amount of income who were able to know about the Enneagram or use it, right? Because some of the trainings that we talk about, like with big teachers, they cost a couple of thousand, it takes something to get there. And so now that there's at least access to it, that's a beautiful way of at least starting to open the door so more people have a use to this wonderful tool. So that's another place I think it's going. And when I look at it from the IEA standpoint, like globally, we're really trying to make strides in connecting like how the Enneagram lands across cultures, because this is fascinating. When you start talking about how it affects cultures, one, you see the similarities, which helps us like, bridge like some divides that we've created based on societal norms or whatever we want to call it, right? But you see these beautiful things, but you also see these big differences in how the world could be a little bit different than the way you see it based on where you live in the world. And so these things it's just a beautiful way of being able to see like, okay, let me get a more well-rounded view of every type or where people come from. It is such a tool that helps us to honor the humanity of people if we really do the work. So that's part of the way I see it growing. The other way I see it growing, just to add one more piece, is that like you asking the question earlier, there's so many places and ways that people are finding the ability to use Enneagram to help humans. It's so big. There is a presentation I watched, Enneagram and AI, from Miss Milton. She's out of like, I can't remember what part. Ooh, she's gonna get me. But I think it's somewhere near Turkey. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. Christina Milton. Just shout out to her. But there's been so many developments on how can we use this tool to help us develop, and how can we use this tool to help us change, grow, and be better for our community and ourselves. And I love it.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Just starting from the last one that you mentioned, then I'd love to work my way backwards. But when you see the overlap of Enneagram and diversity of cultures, what are some of the first things that come to your mind that might not be like, this isn't necessarily apparent to me, as most of my community ends up being Anglo? What are the sort of things that you're seeing?
This is okay. This is why people have to come to the conference. Oh my gosh. Like, you have to come to an Enneagram conference. I'm telling you, everybody, you have to come. You have to come. You have to try it out. I'm telling you. So what I'm seeing here is, one, you start to see how different people embody the Enneagram and what flavors they bring to it. So you start to see that, like, wow, there's a wider view and a wider connection here. And you start to see how the culture shows up. So for instance, we have a lot of different ways that, even we talk about religion, we talk about culture, we talk about dynamics of masculine, feminine energy. You talk about everything. Like we're talking about everything. And it's beautiful because there's space for people to show up and be human and fully themselves there, without judgment, without this, but also exploring and growing, not being stagnant, not being stuck, but being able to grow, develop, and heal and figure out things, right? It's like, what the world is happening here? Wow. And you find such an interesting synergy. It's not that everybody agrees on everything. That'll never happen. And we don't want that to happen. Diversity of thought is a beautiful thing. It helps us be more innovative and creative and build and create new things together. But there's a synergy there around inner work, around managing my own egoic stuff, to make sure that there's space for every single person here, no matter what you are dealing with, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you look like, no matter nothing, no matter your preferences, no matter what your identity, all of it. And that has been one of the most beautiful things. And the more we grow, there are people who are allowing other people to have voices. So a lot of the teachers who have some of our original teachers in the US who are like 70, 80 now, 60, 70, 80, some are even hit 90. They're making sure to pass down their wisdom and their teachings to the next generation. And that's one thing I find very remarkable. And not only that, but they're opening it up, and they're not trying to close it off where, like, the way I learned is the only way to teach it, and that's the only way you should do it. But they recognize to say, hey, there are a lot of people here who are not Anglo necessarily, and they have a different experience of the Enneagram based on their culture, right? They may have a different cultural overlay. So as a 7, even though 7 is a 7 at the core, no doubt, any 7 around the world. At the same time, I come from a culture that has 8 energy. So I may show up a little bit more stronger, a little bit more 8-ish, right? I'm in a country that is 3-ish, right? The culture overlay is 3. So I may have some of that baked into how I show up as well. So it helps us to, one, get a little bit below the surface of behaviors and hit the motivations, and really look for motivations around people and not just their behaviors. But it also helps us understand the behaviors and respect different cultures around the world. And so that is a piece that it does that I cannot fully articulate well enough, to tell people how important that is because it changes the way you see the world. It changes the way you see people. It challenges your biases. It challenges your prejudices, the ones you hold, and it makes you a more loving person. It just in general. And when you become a more loving person towards others, there's only one way to do it. You got to make sure you're loving yourself even more as well. So it's a beautiful thing when we talk about the diversity of cultures. Because I remember when I first, and I'll be very honest here, when I first went to an Enneagram conference, I didn't know a bunch about. So I come from a Christian background. That's my background. That's what I grew up with. I didn't know much about Sufism. I didn't know much about it. So they had like Enneagram and Sufi. I was like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't know, you know. And now, like me and one of my best friends were talking about how it overlaps with the Enneagram and some of the fascinating bits of how it connects to this. And I'm fascinated, you know. So it opens our mind to not be in ways that we used to be so conditioned to be afraid to even think beyond and be more loving, connected, and open in ways that are better for us and humanity.
It's excellent. Aside from just personal experience and diving in, and I imagine this is 90% of the work, for those who are challenged to want to think about Enneagram and race, think about Enneagram and gender, think about Enneagram and religious diversity, do you have wisdom there in terms of just mindset going into that? I want to grow in this area. What might be worth saying to that person?
Ooh, we need you. First off,
that is a good word, by the way.
First off, that's the first thing. Our community needs you and needs your perspective, and I think it's both and. So there's both and here, and this is something that I've said that almost like got me in trouble. It's like, what do you mean? One thing I'm always cautious about is that it's two things. You want to honor people's identity, no matter what their identity they feel is. And we also don't want people to be stuck in their identity either, because we're so much more and we're so much expansive than a simple phrase or a simple way that, you know, we embody the world in some way. Like those things are important, but we're also more than that at the same time. We're both and. So it's important to be respectful of everyone's identity and to listen to the voices, because there's so many things that we may not even understand because we don't experience it based on just physically how we were born, right? Or internally what was going on. And at the same time, I never want a person to be just like the Enneagram, like a person like, this is me, I'm a 7, that's it. No, I'm so much more. That's home base. Don't get me wrong. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of love there and brings a lot of, you know, pizzazz and happiness and blah, blah, blah. But I'm still way more than just a 7. And with anyone with like an identity that's marginalized, I want people to also know that too. Like, yes, your identity is blah, 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 and you're so much more too. And so that's a message that I try to communicate without like offending people where they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, hey, it's a both and. Like, we're going to honor and respect whatever identity you hold and have. And we're also going to say you're so much more than just the identities you hold. You're so much more expansive.
Love that. Seems like a growth mindset. And I think I want to champion that as well. That's a great answer. I would love to back up 2 seconds and talk about what you see on the scientific front. This is a place of challenge for us as well, and in terms of our podcast channel and video work, we have recently just started trying to elevate the overlap of Enneagram and the sciences. I got a chance to read Siegel's book. It's Siegel and a handful of authors, but which struck me as a real accomplishment. When I come to Enneagram and science, and I'd be curious what your thoughts are on here, it seems like Enneagram is trying to pitch a theory about human motive and the dynamics within a human being that is really large. And the more that I'm learning about psychology, the more I'm coming to understand that they don't like large. They like very, very new, very, very small, what can be testable at a very basic level. And this is routinely what I've started to think the challenge for Enneagram, aside from some of the symbolism and perhaps history that is not scientific necessarily, is that it's trying to say too much. And I would be curious what your thoughts are there.
Ooh, I love how you frame that. It's an interesting area. It's so wide and vast when you talk about a human's motivations or their personality structure, right? It's
Hmm.
so vast, and it can be temperamental, and it can also depend on so many variables. There's so many variables that are hard to scientifically even quantify, like with a
Hmm.
human. And then
Hmm.
the other piece of it, which makes it, I would say, even more difficult when you talk about using the Enneagram with studies of people and scientific methods, you have to almost kind of rely on the person knowing themselves well enough to be typed correctly, right?
Correct.
Or even having a professional who's done it for years do it, but then you have to still trust the person. And so it makes the study even more difficult in the scientific form. So we fall into a lot of areas where it gets really, I guess, tricky when you're trying to scientifically figure out like and do studies for the Enneagram. It's like we can reach so far, but then it's kind of like, yeah, there's going to be some mystery in this. We can't close every gap. Like, 100% sure of this, right? That's just not necessarily going to be the thing with the Enneagram. What I do find that works, because I actually do a lot of work with some engineers, which
Hmm.
so I work with some interesting groups, man. Some groups that are like, come on, let me see if this is true or not. I work with engineers, I work with
Yeah.
lawyers, man. I mean, and they will come back at you. They will come back at you, and I love it because I'm always ready. I'm like, okay, I got you because I see patterns. I know people. So like when I teach the motivations and I help people see their patterns and the way that they do things, and I hit the core of them, they're like, oh man, I don't know what this is. I'm not approved, but it's real. Like it works. It's real. So like, because I've had these situations where I've worked with individuals, big time professional individuals, and like they're like almost at tears because I've hit something at
Yeah.
home deep down where they're like, this is true. Like you're
Mhm.
speaking to me like you know me or something, you know? And that's the thing I found to be the amazing piece of the Enneagram. But when you talk about like how do we really quantify so much, there probably is a way to do it. We'll figure out in the future somewhere because I think what happens is, and I do love this part about science. It's like science proves the things a lot of times that we already kind of know is true, but it's figure out a scientific way to explain it or figure out like, oh, so it's like, oh, like
It's
great. Here's some scientific thing I can share with you so that you understand what I'm saying. It's just not out there, right? It's something that is very real. So yeah.
I come back to this frequently that sometimes science can see the ocean just as so many trillions of gallons of cold salt water. And that can be a misstep. You know, it is true. It is absolutely true, but it can be a misstep. And how much more rich is the depths of a human person? I'm going to actually pivot to you are going to be the best person in the world at answering my next question.
Uh-oh.
Seven that you are, president of the International Enneagram Association. The future is coming. Where's the Enneagram headed for us? What do you see on the horizon?
So one thing and one place the Enneagram is headed is, and I think this is for probably the majority of the listeners are US based listeners, most likely. It's headed more international. That's
Hmm.
first off. It is just headed more. There's no way for it not to be headed international with all the advance of technology we have right now. It's no way for it not to be. And not only is it headed international, it's not like it's headed international. We're like, oh, it's decent. No, it's amazing. And these people are brilliant. It's about to. I would say at the rate that like technology is moving based on AI and different things like that. I think our Enneagram knowledge and connection to international like wisdom is going to expand and speed up as well with the people who are willing to like dive in and do the inner work. So I think the availability of the Enneagram for people who are looking for those modalities difference in the Enneagram work, they're opening up. So even if
Mm.
you can't go physically, which I always encourage, if you can, you have the means to do it, and go physically. And then if you don't, reach out to a teacher and say, "Do you have a scholarship?" Okay, like I'm just giving people some things, but go virtually if you can with a trusted teacher. Obviously, I encourage you to go to the IEA to make sure the teacher is trusted with the Enneagram, but like go attend something, build these communities. We talk about regulating the nervous system. Oh my gosh. Like these are some of the places that do the best part of it. So one, I think it's definitely going international more. There's no doubt. Like, and I'm part of that move as the president of IEA. It's like I'm pushing it to go more international. The second, go ahead.
Can I ask you a question on that real quick? Does it feel so? I get this sense. I know zero about Enneagram history, and I kind of avoid it. But it felt like Enneagram was not an American phenomenon in terms of its origin, in terms of a lot of the primary teachers 50 years ago. Was it the case that it just got adopted by Americans made American, or is it still the case that Enneagram is clearly out there and we just have like an American interpretation, as it were, of Enneagram? Like, how would you wrestle with that?
I love this. I love this so much. Okay. So yes, Gurdjieff taught quite a few people. It got down into Oscar Chazo down in South America, and then it got to Claudio Naranjo, right? And these are the some of our, I guess, founding teachers of putting the pieces together on the system that we know as the Enneagram of personality. Mm-hmm. And he came to he came to California, and he taught it at a university in California, and that's how it became so widespread within the U.S. And then the U.S. being a 3 culture, they was like, how can we make this into like a book? How me sell this? How can I figure? Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, how can I package this, right? Because like a lot of the starts of teaching, they were like, we don't really want you to share it like that and do this, but the U.S. is like, man, I got to share this and make some money, right? And I'm not talking bad about any teacher or anything, but that's kind of our culture, right, to a degree. So
true.
A lot of the literature and a lot of things that came out to really start the wave of Enneagram knowledge, though it's been around the world, like the pieces have always been there. Like, we discovered it, we didn't create it. So the putting the pieces together, creating the books and passing it out, a lot of it started here in the U.S. In those ways. And so it expanded around the country, and these teachers here who kind of got their first wave of it really became internationally known. They speak at a lot of places, so they have a lot of connection with the international community and spreading the Enneagram in the way that we know it to be today. So yeah, it's always been there, and there's some places where it's been way before it was here in the U.S., but the U.S. found a way to package it and sell it just a little bit quicker and faster than any other country that I know of to date.
That makes sense. Well, so then a big part of your work is it taking some of those 3 elements, as it were, the promotional, let's give some visibility to folks who are not Americans on this and elevate their voices? Is that then?
Oh yeah,
that would be a win, I imagine, for y'all.
So last year we had our 2025 conference in Minneapolis, which is a city I love, and I feel like it's one of the most inclusive and beautiful cities in the world. And one of our strongest affiliates are in Minneapolis. It is such a beautiful place, and yes, I hate what's happening there right now, and I won't.
Press for Minneapolis right now.
Yeah, seriously, I won't harp on that, but it's one of the most beautiful places, and the conference was incredible. So one thing we try our best to do is, how do we bring in international Enneagram teachers from around the world? Right? Not just US based, but around the world. How do we do that? And they're usually accredited professionals from around the world, which is great. So they've been in this work, they've done this work, and they have a nuance and a culture to it that sometimes as US people, we don't even understand, right? It's like a beautiful thing. So it's like understanding and having to learn a new way of even interacting with the Enneagram or the teacher. Because there's certain teachers who, like the way that we have framed psychology, some places don't have psychology framed that way, or at all. Some places don't have therapists. Like, it's not really a field where they live. And so when they bring Enneagram teaching or work, it is very different, So, like, it's, those things are always what we're navigating with the IEA. And one thing that it's not in our mission statement yet, but it's a place where we seem to show up over and over again. And that's what we're building towards. But it's, how do we make sure we use the Enneagram to honor the humanity of all people? Mm-hmm. And it just keeps coming back, because we see the things that are happening in the world, and we understand the impact of the Enneagram and how it can make differences and changes in people and organizations. And allow us to be a force for good. And I mean a force, because we have to meet some energy with power, but with love. It's both love and power. Like we have, so it's how do we get this tool out there more so people have it so they can do their own inner work and build communities and grow and heal and love and be a force for good in this world.
Love it. You've brought up teachers a handful of times. I want to push into that for a minute. It seems to me, especially stateside, that you will be familiar with this, that men in general are having a problem in connecting with other human beings, but specifically with other men. There is an ethos here of the self-reliant, individualistic, strong man who doesn't need much else. I routinely come to Enneagram and think a misstep for many of us is you need to learn your number first. And I think that's a misstep. I think the primary to getting into Enneagram is being in relationship with other people who want to have really valuable conversations about you and your health and your good. I think that's what's primary. I don't know if that was your experience in terms of learning. It sounded like you learned Enneagram in an atmosphere that already had some of that going on.
Yeah.
But I would love for you to talk about teachers, because I have a really difficult time connecting with teachers.
Yeah. So first, I love what you just said about like the perspective of like, let's focus in on how are you doing? And we can figure out the number down the line. I love that perspective. That was amazing, by the way. I love that. I just want to honor that. Yeah. I mean, that was really, I mean, because, before you throw a tool on a person, like, and put them in a box too fast, because that's what they're going to feel like, and that's the way that most people share the Enneagram if you don't really know it. Even if it's not intentional, you throw it in a box like, this is your number, this is who you are. It's like, no, it's not who they are. That's their pattern, survival pattern, basically. They're trying to figure life out. But back to your question with teachers, yeah, it's going to depend on who you meet and how you meet them, and I've found that I look for people who not just know it up here, but they live it. And I also look for now, because at first, I look for who lived it, but I used to put them on pedestals. I'm not gonna lie. When I first went to Enneagram Craft, I put them on pedestals. I was like, oh my gosh, it's such and such. Oh my God. And then I got to see them be human. I'm like, oh, I thought you were gonna be like super enlightened and all this. And like, yeah, are they brilliant? Yes. Are they understand these things? Yes. But are they humans in their struggle and they have their own deficiencies like every single person? Yes. So I was like, let me take them off the pedestal, but let me pay attention to who's continuously doing their inner work, because that is different, right? I'll notice through my experience of seeing many teachers, knowing a bunch of them, and I love so many of them, that there are some who have like kind of plateaued a little bit. Like they did a bunch, they were there, and then it's kind of like, I don't think you're still doing your inner work like you used to, And then there's other teachers where you see their inner work and you're like, oh my gosh, like you're still changing like almost every day. Like you're humble in your work and your growth. So for me, it's always a vetting of seeing how they live and operate that allows me to love teachers that what I find who are doing those things. Or I love a certain piece of what they do in this area. And I understand like the rest of them, like, that's not it. But this area, So I think it's when you find a teacher who resonates with you really well, or who you can like learn from, it's something special, because it's like almost like being, I guess, at a monastery or a temple somehow, learning from someone who is had experience and wisdom, and you sit there and you're kind of soaking it up, but you're not really soaking it up in the sense of words per se. I'm just like learning here. You're absorbing something energetically that you may not have had before that changes who you are. And that has been something I have found very profound in my learning, because there were things I could not communicate that I picked up from teachers. And I was like, what? How? And then I would try to explain it to people that I would teach, and I'd be like, oh, Milton, you picked that up through just being around them, just learning from them, watching how they did stuff, not the words and knowledge they use. That's great. But there's something different about the presence you pick up, the maturity you pick up, the patience you pick up. Like there's something different about the walk. And so being able to do that has, I would say, exponentially helped me to develop, grow, and transform over like the last couple of years because I've had the wisdom of people who are walking the journey still and who have done it for a long time. So hopefully, Jeff, you find a few teachers who you're like, okay, that person is amazing overall as in the inner work, and I can rock with them. And now let's be honest, there's a bunch of teachers who, even as IA president, you know, I can struggle with their times. I honor their ability to teach their students and what they do in the world. And, but just being reality, there's some struggles. Yeah, so I hope you do find one. And if you have any questions or any specific ones you want to look at, just shoot me an email and I can give you a list of amazing ones we have out there. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, actually, two things to kind of land on this, because what I did want to hit, and something you brought up earlier, was just on the accreditation that y'all are offering. Is that was where you kind of pivoted first? What are the things that you really want to emphasize and say, the people who work with us, here are the things they must know and really be grounded in order to be certified in Enneagram knowledge and in using it professionally? What's most core to that person?
One is integrity and ethics on how you treat other people and how you use the Enneagram. So those two things are going to be like the big things that we really, really are focused on. Specifically, the integrity around how you treat people and use the Enneagram. So part of the process, because we have enough accredited professionals globally, is you have like a referral process, or a recommendation process where it says, hey, who did you learn from? Who was your teachers? How did you learn? How many years have you been learning? And how many times have you been teaching? So for our accredited professionals, a certain amount of hours literally put in just studying the Enneagram, studying yourself, learning from an accredited professional who's been doing it for a while, and who can vouch and say, yeah, I've seen this person in my program and they've really put in the work. They've had challenges. Here are the things that they need to work on. Here are the things I've seen them improve on. And so part of that is we're doing our best, best as we can at this point. And we're always trying to improve our system. There's no doubt. But is this person a person who has shown a pattern, a consistent pattern of being able to not only understand the Enneagram because they've went through different programs on the Enneagram from accredited professionals, and have they been studying it enough time to at least know some things decently? And have they actually been seen by somebody who's accredited, who's doing their thing, who's like, I can vouch for this person, to help do that? Because we tried to, and we had to update this very recently, our ethics policy. And this is the one thing that, working with an accredited professional in Enneagram, if there is something that you feel and you were a student that was fishy, wrong, off, you know what I'm saying, or that could be harmful, you can tell us and we can make sure that we have things in place that we can start to work on. How do we approach this professional? And we actually investigate the whole situation and say, hey, we can either pull your accreditation. There's different consequences that could come here.
Sure.
But it's doing our best to give people in the public like vetted as best as possible individuals who can use it for good. So that's a part of it. And then when we have accredited professionals, we're doing things to say, okay, now let's be in a community together and see how can we all understand or use the Enneagram in a way that's even more wholesome and better, to help each other. Use that as a think tank, in a way that says, ooh, I never thought about it that way. Ooh, I didn't see my ego coming through that way when I was teaching. Oh, that's a new best practice. Oh my goodness, let me work on that. So we're constantly trying to do that and platform those who are accredited as well, the newer accredited members and our accredited members who've been there for, 20 plus years. So yeah, that's the range where we're going for.
I love that. In my view, like one of the best things that could happen for Enneagram is really a reputable certification process. And so the fact that you guys are doing such with integrity as a primary. That's real valuable, it seems to me. So cheering for you on that. Like I
Thank
really
you.
that
Thank
seems
you.
to me like one of the best possible things that could happen is that there would be something that really had some base and body to it on that front.
Yes.
So
Could, yeah. I've seen some stuff, Jeff. I'm just gonna tell you, I've seen some stuff.
oh yeah, it's
Listen,
out there.
listen, that I was like, oh, and this is before I was president. I was like, oh, this is why we exist, because this right here is foolishness what they're teaching. It is foolishness. I'm just being honest. So that's why I was like, oh my gosh, that is so important. I knew it like even more, but oh, it is so important because like that thing right there, whatever I just went to, who's not IE accredited or approved, like that's straight foolishness, and it's actually damaging, unfortunately. Like I'm
That's what
joking,
it is.
but it's actually damaging.
No, it's true.
Yeah.
I yeah, pieces of paper don't all have equal weight.
Right.
I literally sent a friend of mine who was we were debating a certification, so I printed up an Around the Circle certification. She's the only one in the world who's gotten accredited through Around the Circle podcast for Enneagram training, wrote it up in Old English, signed it, stamped it, put it on some official parchment, say congratulations, you now have, and made me laugh. Hey, I want to announce something, but it will work as my final question for you. In summer 2027, we're going to release another book. It'll be our first compilation of essays. We have teachers we really love who are all coming together to write on one topic, and the topic is the work. And you brought up that topic earlier in terms of just it's not just about Enneagram teachers who have done a study that was popular 20 years ago. Are they still doing the work? Are they still, on that process of growth and all the rest? When you think about Enneagram work, what are the things that come to your mind as most primary?
Ooh, okay. So the first thing that came up is the ability to be humble. That's the first thing. Can I be humble? And I would say present, because those two to me are very important. And because it's tricky, the ego, it is as crafty as we grow and develop, which is so fascinating, right? It navigates its way. Like we've developed so much and we're like, oh, I'm so past that. And then it's like, well, guess what? Next level 12. I'm ready now. I'm gonna enter this a new way and you won't even see it, right? Are we able to humble ourselves and recognize that that part of us is always going to be there, but can we be able to humble ourselves to say, I've got to continue to do my work, and I got to do it in a way that I don't elevate myself above other people, because we're all going through things. How can I do this to make sure I'm still carrying myself in a way that honors the ability to be humble, confident, but humble in the work that I do, because it is always there for me to do. It's not like I just overcame it. It's like, oh, I'm good. I'm transcending now. Like, no, you're not doing that, right? So, so
We need to make that a bumper sticker. I'm
right.
transcending now.
I'm good. I've arrived. No, like it doesn't, and if it does, there's very few people that have done it or do it, right? So it's kind of like we all got a lot of work to do. So I think the humble piece is very important. And then the other piece, I think, is being present. Can I be present with what truly is? Because just because we've done a lot of work in the past, being present takes a moment to moment like intention, and it takes the ability to be grounded when there's so much going on around us. Because I find it fascinating, because even though we're like understanding Enneagram, we may be great in talking to people about all these type of things, but some of the people who grew up with us and around us who are very intimate and close, they're the very people who like could be struggling with us, or we struggle with them, or we can't get them to get the Enneagram. And it's like, dang it, like I'm right here. I got, and it's so fascinating. So our ability to be present in those moments and recognize that maybe this moment isn't for me to do that, but maybe this moment is me to figure out how to do even more inner work for myself. Like maybe I need some healing in this moment, right? What is my instinct saying in this moment? Maybe it's going triggered a little bit. I'm doing a little something there. And so how can I be present moment to moment with myself, with the people around me, with what's going on, and not get lost in a narrative or trends or whatever's happening, to where now I'm swaying away that's like not what the true essence of who I need to be in this present moment truly is. And I've experienced that from quite a few teachers who I would mention something because I used to, well, I guess I still am that person, but I'm a little different position now. But I used to attend things and I get so excited because I know so much, right? I know so much, right? Quotation for people who are not watching. I think I know so much. And at least I did. I did back in the day. And I'll be saying a whole lot, saying all these things, all this stuff. Now recognizing how much space I'm taking up in the room, and not allowing other people a chance to think or to grow on it or to figure it out. But I have to be like the first one, you know. And so I learned from that. And what I did was I went the total opposite way. I went to retreat and I didn't really say nothing. It was like, Milton, why didn't you say anything? It was the teachers. And I was like, I don't want to take up too much space. I want to do it. It's like, no, we need you to balance that. Like your input is important, but we just need you not to say everything all the time. And I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So it was work for me to do that. And I've also been the person that when the teachers teach them like, but what about this? You didn't say anything about this, right? Very specific example, the word fawning, right, came into, because we have freeze, fight and flight. And then, they've kind of come up with fawning to add. And I was like, what about fawning in this one class? I'm their guy. And the teacher, specifically Marian Gilbert, shout out to Marian Gilbert, somatic Enneagram, she literally considered it, right? She didn't take it as like a slight, like, no, that's wrong, da da da. She took it as like, okay, we're gonna look into that. I don't know if that's exactly one that applies here. I think it falls under, this category necessarily, but we can look into it. And then even from there, like, I don't know, years later, she's still mentioning how that part of it is understanding the piece of something. So I was like, that's super humble. Like, to me, that's being humble and being present and not letting my ego get the best of me. Or, when I'm teaching or when I'm sharing it, because someone said something that was like, I didn't think of that, So the work, if we can be humble and present, I think that's important. And even if we have to come back and apologize because we're human, I think that's the two biggest things I would say that would help us along that journey of the work when we talk about the Enneagram, because it's easy to feel like we know more because we read a lot of books and we know those things. And then we forget to but yeah, you're still a human. You got a shadow back here. You got a couple of blind spots over there. You still ain't healed in this area. So, just take it easy.
That's lovely. Next time we have you on, I would love to talk about being present, especially as a 7. One of my favorite books is written by a 7, and it's called How to Be Here. And that focus, I think comes across richly from Enneagram 7s. And as you're talking, like I'm a 1, I'm entirely in the present, and still I'm hearing, oh yeah, that is the elements of being present that I need to tap into. Well said. He's Milton Stewart, president of International Enneagram Association. Been just thrilled to have you on. If folks want to connect with you and your work, what are the best places?
Yeah, they can check out my website, kaizencareers.com, KAIZENCAREERS.com. And then you can check out my podcast, Do It for the Gram Enneagram podcast. But my website's going to be the best place. It'll lead you to all other things that we do. And please check out the IEA, internationalenneagram.org.
Bing. I'll put both those in the show notes. So friends, in your podcast platform, there'll be links. And just to delight me and you, I'm thrilled that we made the connection, and I'm cheering for your work. Looking forward to seeing great things from you. Looking forward to traveling internationally here in 2027 to some location that is undisclosed yet.
Jeff,
need to get my passport redone.
Please do. Look, everybody listening, get your passport. And I'm telling you, Jeff, I want to see you at our next conference. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. That's all I can say. Like, I'm telling you, you're going to love it. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not guessing. I'm not hoping. I know it. I just do. You're going to love it.
I need some 7s to pull me into the future. Is there anything stateside this year?
Stateside. The one thing, I don't think we have a International Enneagram conference stateside, but the one thing that I do with 2 other amazing Enneagram facilitators called the Big Enneagram Retreat. And we do those about twice a year. And we focus on either head, heart, or the body, depending on which one you attend. And that one's all about, it's not just about like learning knowledge. It's about inner work and working with either the head, the heart, or the body. And then it moves into another one, which is like a totality of all of them. So that's one thing that is happening every year that we've been doing. But there are some more things. If someone's interested in something event, go to internationalenneagram.com and .org and go to 9 points. 9 points is going to be where we have posted events from just our accredited professionals, and there's different things happening going on. So yeah,
lovely. All right, my man. Appreciate you. Appreciate your work. Talk to you next time.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Joe.